What's going on, guys? It is the Coaster Battleman here, bringing you the ultimate coaster countdown of the top 15 roller coasters at Six Flags Great America. And this is not top 10, top 15. Because Six Flags Great America, even though it's home to 14 roller coasters, American Eagle is a racing coaster, and they're pretty different rides. So I'm going to give them 2 credits, so count it as 2 credits. So we're moving on to number 15, which is Little Dipper, and this is the kiddie coaster of Great America that is a wooden coaster, and it does fit well with the wooden coaster lineup that Great America has, as they have a racing coaster, a traditional wooden coaster, an RMC, and a kid wooden coaster. So Little Dipper, it does fit well with Great America's wooden coaster collection, but it's kind of small and it has a low capacity, so the lines tend to get long for it. So Little Dipper, it's good for the kids, but overall, if you want to ride it, you will have to deal with quite a bit of a long line. Number 14 is the other kiddie coaster. It's basically Sprocket Rockets, and this coaster is the other kiddie coaster of Great America. It's nice that they have 2 kid coasters for the kids, so it's basically Sprocket Rockets. Overall, it's a pretty nice kid coaster. It has some pretty decent turns in there. And overall, this is a good ride for the kids, even though this isn't the greatest coaster, and it's one of the worst coasters at Great America. I do think it's better than Little Dipper. So we're moving on to number 13, which is the Dark Knight. And this coaster has gotten worse over time. It used to be decently smooth, but overall, I feel like over time it has gotten a bit rougher, and the theming is starting to disappear. Like the bat signal is not really seen on Dark Knight whenever I ride it now this year, so the theming is kind of going away, and the Dark Knight overall, it's getting worse over time, but it's still a decent attraction at Great America, as it has some decent theming to it, even though some of it during the ride is non-existent anymore. Number 12 is Whizzer, and this is the classic Schwarzkopf coaster, and I just wish I could rank this in the top 10, but there's so many good coasters at Great America that this is at number 12, and we're getting into the pretty solid coasters here. Whizzer, pretty fun family coaster. It has a spiral lift till a pretty fun drop that's not that steep, but it's still pretty fun. There's some pretty decent turns in there as well. You're going through the trees, and there's some fun helixes. So overall, Whizzer, pretty fun family coaster, really good for the younger ones. And it is kind of like a bobsled coaster, as you are not seated two per row. It's one row with one smaller rider, and then the larger rider gets into the back of the 2-seat. So Whizzer, pretty unique coaster, and definitely a very iconic ride at Great America. So number 11 is Viper, and this is a Coney Island Cyclone replica or clone. So Viper, it was built by Six Flags, and it's a pretty decent coaster. It's not the smoothest wooden coaster at Great America, but it's definitely not the roughest. Or maybe it is the roughest, but still, it's a decently smooth wooden coaster. It has some decent turns, a few okay airtime moments. Overall, I really do like this coaster. I find it to be pretty fun. There's some pretty good turns in there, like I just said. The drop's pretty good as well. Overall, Viper is a pretty solid coaster, but not good enough to make the top 10. Number 10 is V2, Vertical Velocity, and this coaster, sometimes people will say that I rank it too low, and I might think that as well, but I really do like V2, I admit it. But it just depends on where you're sitting. If you're in one of the first 2 to 3 rows, or one of the back 2 to 3 rows, you will have a very good ride. Like, if you're in one of the first 3 rows, you're going to get more of an intense experience due to the twisting. And if you're in one of the back rows, you'll get a pretty good drop. So it just depends on what you like. And if you're not a big fan of either, the middle is always an option. So we're moving on to number 9, which is American Eagle Red Side. And I really do like American Eagle. And for 2017, this ride actually got repainted as the lift hill area where there's some wood that supports the normal lift hill is like all repainted. It's super nice now. And the final helix on both sides of the track have been repainted, which makes the coaster a bit more fun now and just makes the ride overall more enjoyable. And the red side, overall, I really do like it. The drop is pretty fun. There's some decent airtime hills that really don't give any airtime, which I wish it did. The ride time for this is amazing. The massive helix this ride has is amazing. There's some very good qualities to this, except the red side is rougher than the blue side, so that's why it's not as high on this list, but it's still pretty fun. Number 8 is X-Flight, and this coaster, man, everyone would want to say, rank this higher, but overall this coaster, even though it's not a boring coaster, it's not that forceful at all. It's fun though. I really do like the wing over drop, even though it doesn't give the best hang time. And the best part of this ride is the crazy near miss element. It's pretty awesome going through the tower that you can see in this picture. So overall, X-Flight, even though it isn't the best coaster at Great America, there's some nice inversions on it that make it a very fun ride. The near miss elements are definitely the highlight of this coaster. Number 7 is the Demon, and this coaster, I've always ranked this around the 7th spot. I'm just a fan. I'm just a pure fan of the Demon. Very fun vertical loops, especially if you're in the back row. I recommend to ride back row on this if you're one of those enthusiasts or any person who actually likes this coaster. I recommend to ride in the back row because you might get a fairly intense drop, and the 2 vertical loops give some great G-forces. The double corkscrew is okay, it could be better, and going through a tunnel, you go through 2 tunnels on this coaster, one at a pretty decent speed and one before the lift hill. Overall, Demon has some nice qualities to it, and I really do like the 2 vertical loops and the first drop on this coaster. They deliver some decent intensity levels. Number 6 is the new for 2017 Joker, and so far I've ridden this 4 times, and I made a whole review on this ride already. And this ride delivers different ride experiences, and I know the queue line is pretty well themed as well. And you're in these wing seats. You go up 120 feet high, and after the lift hill, you might just come out of nowhere and just flip. Like, it could be either you only flip a few times, or you just keep on flipping, flip after flip after flip until the ride is over. And unfortunately, this ride is kind of a short ride. But I still really think this is a fun ride at Great America, and definitely a great addition, as this is the first 4D coaster to come to Great America in their history. Number 5 is American Eagle Blue Side, and I really do like the blue side on American Eagle. Very fun first drop, very good helix, and it's even smoother than the red side. And with the new repaint it has gotten for 2017, with the lift hill section and the final helix, I really do think this is even better than it was last year. And the blue side, I've heard it's been smoother than the red side by some people, and I have to agree, blue side is smoother than red side. But if you're looking to quickly get this ride over with, ride red side, and if there's only one side open, then better hope for blue side. But blue side on American Eagle, very fun, especially when racing against the other train. Even though the airtime hills don't get that much airtime, this is a very fun wooden coaster, and it's a super long ride. Number 4 is Superman Ultimate Flight, and this coaster is kind of a short ride. I've really grown to like this coaster a lot. especially that pretzel loop in the first drop. The first drop is pretty intense, and that pretzel loop is insane. Very good element. One of my favorite roller coaster elements. But then after that, the ride's kind of like just a bunch of bank turns, and the final inversion's alright too. But that pretzel loop definitely makes this coaster on this number 4 spot, even though this ride is a clone. Number 3 is Batman the Ride, and unfortunately, a lot of people have said that I should rank this coaster higher because, well, I've grown to like this coaster a lot. I've tried it in the back rows, and I've really enjoyed Batman the Ride in the front or the back. Very intense coaster, very good G-forces. The first drop is very intense. The vertical loops and the corkscrews are very intense. Very good inversions. The turns are pretty good. Unfortunately, this isn't the longest ride in the world, but it's super intense and powerful, and it's the first ever inverted coaster. Unfortunately, this coaster isn't the smoothest B&M I've ridden, and it's one of the rougher inverts I've ridden out of all the B&M inverts I've ridden. But still, this is a very, very fun coaster, very intense. Overall, really enjoyed it. Number 2 is Raging Bull, and this is the B&M Hypercoaster, and I've really loved this coaster ever since I started riding it a few years ago. Raging Bull, very, very good B&M Hypercoaster. It's a massive ride, very good first drop. It's very fun. The pre-drop can surprise some people if they haven't ridden this before. And overall, depending on which row you're in, it doesn't really matter what row you're in. This ride has great capacity, and if you're in the back row, I think you will enjoy this more than in the front row because one of the airtime hills, the largest airtime hill on this coaster, has a trim brake that really seems to kill all the speed, which is annoying. And no one has ever said that about Raging Bull, how there is some trim brakes on it, and which kind of stinks because we want some nice airtime, and we don't get it. So yeah, when the trims are turned off, this ride is much better, but when the trims are on, this coaster isn't nearly as good with the airtime, but I still really enjoy that first drop. Very good bank turns, very good closing section with the final little airtime hill and the helixes. Very long ride too. Raging Bull definitely the best coaster at Great America until 2014 when Goliath opened. So Goliath, I've loved this coaster. Back row, it's amazing. It's just amazing. Front row is good too if you're in the front, but back row is definitely the spot on Goliath. You just really feel that speed on that first drop. Very fun bank turns. The inversions go back to back. It's very fun. The airtime hills are great. Very good airtime. Overall, the intensity of this ride due to its insane airtime and first drop are just unreal. Just such an amazing coaster. This coaster isn't the longest ride in the world, and it's kind of short in my opinion, but I still really like this coaster because of its high quality elements. Very fun RMC, and definitely one of their best coasters ever made. So, thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more videos, and that was my top 15 coasters at Six Flags Great America. Stay tuned for more videos, and my next video will be on a potential Gotham City section of Great America. Stay tuned for more videos.